Hi everybody, it's Honest John again. Now, a very unusual thing happened last week. President Obama made a speech that was carried live on Iranian television. There were no chants of death to America. There were no comments about the great Satan. The Iranian people loved it. There was dancing in the streets. And hundreds of Iranians stood next to their TV set and took selfies of themselves with President Obama and posted the photos on Instagram with no fear of reprisals from their government. The reason for all of this, of course, was the fact that Iran has reached a deal on its nuclear program with the U.S. and the international community. Now, the final agreement won't be resolved until the end of June, and there are a lot of details to be worked out. But the deal appears to be a surprisingly good one. It includes the dismantling of one of Iran's nuclear reactors, the one that produces weapons-grade plutonium, a 2/3 reduction of Iran's nuclear tubes, access to every phase of Iran's nuclear program by UN inspectors, the most intrusive inspection regime that has ever been in history, including Iraq. Iran will now only enrich its nuclear fuel to 3%, which is too little to make a nuclear weapon. And its nuclear fuel that it currently has that exceeds that amount will be shipped out of the country. All of this in return for the gradual lifting of sanctions. And it says in the deal that those sanctions can be snapped back on if Iran is found to be not complying with the deal. The fact that we got such a good deal is very surprising when you consider how much Iran's position was strengthened by the foolish actions of the U.S. Congress. First, in inviting Benjamin Netanyahu to speak against the deal to Congress, and the letter sent to Iran by the 47 Republican traitors in the Senate. In fact, the big question about this deal is not whether Iran can be trusted, it's whether the U.S. can be trusted. Certainly it's going to be very difficult to get Congress to lift sanctions. So even if Iran faithfully complies with every aspect of the deal, there will be difficulties there. Now, fortunately, there are sanctions that we have put on by executive order. And so there are sanctions that can be lifted without Congress. And the European Union and the United Nations will lift their sanctions if Iran is found to be in compliance with the deal. Now, Israel might go rogue and attack Iran on its own. And if they do, they will count, and things don't go well for them, they will be counting on the U.S. to bail them out. And there'll be a lot of pressure for us to do that. We should make it clear that we will stay out of it, even if Israel is defeated. Our alliance with Israel is a farce. We get no benefit from it. And they often behave in ways that are against our national interests. We would be better off taking a neutral stance towards them. Now, the deal with Iran does not mean that we're all going to be BFFs forever, you know. They have their interests and we have ours, and they often are in conflict. But sometimes they do converge. Iran cooperated with us against the Taliban in Afghanistan and continues to do so. We are fighting alongside Iran in Iraq, but against Iran's proxies in Yemen. And we are fighting both with and against Iran in Syria. Iran will continue to be an ally of Hamas and Hezbollah. The situation in the Middle East is complicated, way too complicated to be left in the hands of Republicans. We all know what a disaster it was last time we did that. But what this deal does, or could accomplish, because don't forget, nothing's final until June. But what it would accomplish is exactly what our goals are. Preventing Iran from developing a nuclear weapon and preventing an arms race in the Middle East. Maybe the next thing we should think about is making Israel get rid of its nuclear weapons. Thanks for listening.